Or you could watch the trailer for that Harry Potter game show that's coming out.
I don't know about the game show, but I did hear about HBO Max is going to have a 20th anniversary show or something.
Yeah, it's a game show where all four houses playing trivia against each other.
No, this was a
hosted
reunion.
By somebody.
No, this was a reunion show they were having.
Oh,
so, but I hadn't heard about the game show. Why not? They had the real Gilligan's Island. I remember Bowling for Soup did a promotion for them. That was pretty hilarious.
Oh boy, did I remember that game show? Boy, did that tank hard.
Did it? Oh, I can't see
did they? I don't think they even got to the end.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Gilligan's Island, because I remember I watched some of that. Eric Aliniak was on it. Okay, that's probably why I watched it. Let's see. Nope, they made it all the way to the end. They did 2 seasons. Let's see. The Ginger role was taken by a professional actress. Nicole Eggert and Rachel Hunter competed in 2004. And in 2005, Erica Laniak and Angie Everhart competed. I vaguely remember all of it.
I remember them doing it, and I thought, hey, this could be kind of fun, but not having TBS, I didn't care.
Contestants were divided into 2 teams of 7 to start the show, and then they were expected to dress and act like Gilligan's Island counterpart, and then through each episode, one of them would be removed. Boy, there were a lot of reality shows like that, weren't there?
I don't know. I didn't pay attention to anything. I think once I read about the reality shows, I kind of like, oh, this is boring. You can never be sure, was it staged or was it real? And I thought, forget about it. I got real life to deal with.
I did like the surreal life.
Well, and I gotta admit, I did like. I liked WWE one.
Oh, Tough Enough. Yeah, that was good too.
I did like Tough Enough. And I think it was the second season that I dropped because they cut this guy who they said had been holding back. And he said, yeah, the thing is I'm more of a high flyer. What you've been doing isn't really my specialty. So they cut him. And I kept thinking Bill DeMott was just a presumptuous ass to this guy. And then, of course, the next fucking episode was High Flyers. And I thought, this is stupid. If that's the way
Bill
WWE
DeMott was such an abusive fuck.
Yeah, and then that shit came out later. And I don't know if that tanked the show or by then everybody just got, it was like, how can you watch
They did oh gosh, there were all sorts of things where they would do a season and maybe it would do okay, and then they'd do another one, and then they had it as part of SmackDown, which was terrible.
Yeah, no, I just remember the first season was fun because they got Mabel out of it, and wasn't that where what was that guy's name? The first Yale graduate.
Let's see, Chris Nowinski. Yep.
Yeah, I thought he came out of that too. So, and it was good because, and again, I remember talking about it because I thought it would have been funny had he shown up and talked to Vince McMahon, and Vince is like, yeah, who are you? I'm your new, yeah, here, go down there, start. And then he goes into the basement and he starts rummaging through all the WWE stuff, which I guess they did later on as a reality show for the network. Running across rings and things like that. And I'd have him like find the gobbledygooker suit and maybe even discover like Mankind sitting down there. Shh. And maybe even have him find the old when the laptop was the what the hell did they call him? The manager or whatever.
Yeah.
It would beep. And so then he took care of that and started beeping. And then he brought back, what was that? Where something would appear like GTV or something, and it would show like something behind the scenes that would directly affect what was going on in the ring. Because they never, these are things like they never explained. And then I'm like, oh, this is just it. Somebody was sitting in the basement having fun with everybody. And so when they discover he did it, then he would be all of a sudden in everybody's direct sights. So that would get him catapulted into, well, there's a reason why Kane and Undertaker and Triple H want a piece of Mabel, or a piece of, that wasn't Mabel. I can't think of the winner guy. Maven. Thank you. Because you embarrassed them the last couple of months. Although I could tell there was that one thing, and I think we might have talked about it, that you knew Paul Heyman had the script, because at the time Maven had kicked the Undertaker out of the ring during one of the Royal Rumbles, and so every time Maven would get in the ring, Undertaker would come out to fuck with him. Undertaker was scheduled to fight The Rock, so there's a sequence where Maven came out, was wrestling, then the Undertaker came out. And while he's beating up Maven, The Rock came out, not to save him, but to beat on The Undertaker. I thought, this is such a perfect merging of all these different wrestling storylines that only Paul Heyman could have pulled it off, because he pulled it off in ECW, and it was just a joy. It made an awesome 10-minute segment. I mean, here we are, decades later, I'm still dazzled about it. I can barely talk intelligently about it. Oh, since we're already talking about what you want to talk about, you want to give the opening and we'll just go right into the show?
Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard, and shot out of a cannon on the other end series of tubes and wires we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing tonight, Joe?
Well, hang on. Let's see. There's got to be something I can use somewhere. I don't really know. No, that's not. No. Not good. No. Fishy Joe. No, not. I guess I'm okay. I once visited a country where a lot of people were called Yuri and it stank of pee. It must have been the Yuri Nation. Usually I have these things ready to go, but like I said, we were shot out of a cannon, much like I think you were this weekend, judging by your I mean, let's put it this way, folks. You know how you sit back and you listen to me when I go on a road trip or just a vacation? I think it's time for Cory to do that, because you sound like you had a fantastic weekend.
I am a wrestling journalist, and the Twin Cities were home to Friday night Rampage of AEW at the Target Center, which sold out, and the pay-per-view of Full Gear, which sold out. And I was there both nights, and it was a fascinating weekend in so many ways.
I will say, though, I know you talked to our good buddy Butch, who's a huge wrestling fan, and he didn't want to go just because of the COVID concerns, which is legit. Had I not known he was going to go, I may have figured a way off to go hang with you. But I wasn't able to. I was a nice guy. I mean, I just got reinstated at work, so I don't want to screw things up yet. But it was fun just sitting back and watching pictures of the show pop up, not only from you but from other people. How did you get to the point where you went there as a journalist?
Well, I do the AEW coverage for PWInsider.com, and I also do audio for them on PWInsiderElite.com, which you need to subscribe for. But every Wednesday since it started, I have been doing the write-up of Dynamite. When they started Rampage, I started doing the write-up for those. So I am officially a journalist because there are college professors who are saying, hey, we would like to talk to you about an aspect of wrestling because you're a journalist. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm not a journalist. I do recaps. By the way,
Well,
that's journalism.
Considering what passes for wrestling journalism, I mean, you're way above everybody else.
Well, I never think about that because, quite honestly, I don't go to other wrestling websites. I kind of because I started as a grown-up wrestling fan, and we had a dirt sheet here in the Twin Cities. That's what they called the behind-the-scenes stuff with who was it? Wade Keller. I forget the name of his, but there's also the Wrestling Observer, and then there was whatever Dave Shearer did that became One Wrestling and then became PW Insider. But I really only get my wrestling news from one place because there are 100 bajillion wrestling sites, and I just want ones that are going to be accurate. And when I started, I read whatever the blog was that Al Isaacs wrote, because he was pointed out to me back when I was on back pre-World Wide Web days. And what he would do, he would go through and he would read the dirt sheets and kind of summarize the stuff that he knew was true and put it up every day. And then when One Wrestling started, Joe actually is the one who found it. And when Al dropped out, I went over to One Wrestling and I said, oh, these guys are pretty good. And then they started offering subscriptions. And with subscriptions, you could download audio. And when AEW started, I'd been a member long enough that I said, hey, I'd like to cover this. And they had me do some other coverage based on what I wrote up for local wrestling. And then now AEW came to town. And other people, when wrestling comes to their town, they get press passes. So I said, hey, guys, can you hook me up with press passes? And I got press passes for Friday and Saturday night. Now, Friday was the 1 hour Rampage show. And it's funny when I got there how most of the people who went to the show didn't know how it worked. They were like, well, it's obviously taped because it's not on till 9 and we're walking in the door at 6. So I'm telling people, no, they're going to tape Dark, which is their YouTube show, beforehand. So we're going to get a 2 hour wrestling show. Then they're going to go live on TNT for Rampage.
So the original stuff is just their YouTube show? They don't have a syndicated thing going anywhere?
No. They have the two shows on TNT. And then they do 2 shows called Dark on YouTube every week. And Dark is kind of where it's a lot like the old WWE Superstars show, where it's younger talent and talent that hasn't been around as much get more time in the ring. Your star comes out and does squash matches with the local people. So we got a lot of local people on Dark. But this crowd treated Dark like it was WrestleMania. When one of the guys who's been on TV a lot came out, that crowd exploded. It was loud and it was crazy, and it was, come on, it's Andrade El Idolo versus Joe Brony, and he's going to beat him in 3 minutes. But nope, boom! Everybody excited, so happy. And when it got to Rampage, you got, stars versus stars, and everybody went insane. Now, I was in a section that they kind of had set up for journalists, and I'm going to give you a secret, Joe. Most people who call themselves wrestling journalists, utter goobers. Utter and complete goobers. One guy was sitting next to me, and through the whole show, he'd go, who's that guy? What's his gimmick? Who's that guy? Why are they cheering him? And all I could think is, you're supposedly a journalist. Shouldn't you know this stuff?
Yeah.
I then, somebody sent me the write-up from the Wrestling Observer just to laugh at, because most of the local guys, they got their names wrong. They got Eric Cannon's name wrong. They got Craven Knight's name wrong. They got Brian Gore's name wrong. These are local guys. It takes all of 5 seconds to look them up on the internet. Eric Cannon got more cheers than the people he was fighting because he's a local guy who runs First Wrestling. They spelled his name wrong. Craven Knight, they called him Brandon Knight. No, it's Brandon Gore and Craven Knight. Well, when I came into the journalist section, there were 2 guys just screaming at each other. I read what you wrote about me on the webpage, The Observer, and you son of a bitch, I ought to kick your ass. And, so as I'm going to my seat, it's like, oh, God. So the next night, we are in a different section. The first night, I'm right behind the hard camera. And I'm going to give you a little secret. Some of the chants for people that aren't well known, they had some speakers up and they were piping in those chants. But all they had to do was that chant start and the crowd just joined in. Didn't matter. They didn't care. As soon as they heard it, they were all in. The next night, we were down like 5 rows from the floor. I wouldn't say they were better seats, but I looked online and both times they were pretty expensive seats. First night, my seat would have sold for $125. The next night, my seat would have sold for $250. And there were seats on the floor that sold for $1,000. And we'll get into more of that when we get into freaking and geeking. But there I am, great seats. They have the whole setup for TV. They have the big screens up there. It's sold out.
Wait. Didn't you have a connection with some lady who flew in from England or something?
Well, the first night there was a woman sitting next to me who was a journalist. Her and I were having a competition to see who was best dressed. Night 1, she won. Second night, I won.
Yeah.
I have since seen she writes for Digital Spy about wrestling, but mostly she's a video blogger. Really cute.
Well, I thought maybe there might be a pod connection there. You never know.
Oh no, she does. She gets press releases from movie studios and talks about that. But
give her your card. Maybe she'll listen in.
I did.
Oh, good man.
But I wanted to talk about how, as I'm coming in, I'm talking to people around me. This guy's from Puerto Rico. This guy's from San Diego. This guy's from Mexico. These 2 people are from Canada. These people are from Washington, D.C. There were some Minnesota people at the second night, but I was amazed at how many people flew in from out of state and some people from out of country to see this pay-per-view. Both shows were fantastic. Our AEW's on a roll. But that's not all, Joe. I didn't just get to see the pay-per-view. I had a little green sticker on my vest that said press, which meant that afterward I got to go to the press conference, which went for 2 hours. They had Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Jay Lethal, and the new champion, Hangman Adam Page, or as JR calls him, Hangman Adam Page. And Tony Khan, the owner. And the press conference was 2 hours. And my job was not to embarrass the site. Well, after listening to some of the questions, I did not embarrass anybody. And I think other than 1 or 2 people, I was the only one there who was actually kind of, asking questions that weren't moronic. Matter of fact, one guy standing next to me, he wanted to kind of show how inside he was. He's using all these wrestling insider terms while asking his question for Bryan Danielson. And Danielson's eyes rolled so hard. He was rolling his eyes so hard you could actually hear it. CM Punk, I asked one question and got a very grumpy answer. And Mike Johnson said, "Oh, that's just him. You didn't make him mad. He's just really grumpy." Jay Lethal, who's been in, if you remember him on Impact, he was Black Machismo. He's been in Ring of Honor for years and years and years, been their champion quite a few times. He was their surprise new wrestler because as I've talked about in the past, Ring of Honor shutting down. He was just giddy and happy to be there because, hey, he doesn't have to look for work. And I asked him, look, you've reinvented you're a master of reinventing yourself. Who are some of the people you're looking forward to having a match with? And he's an African-American gentleman, but when I said you're a master of reinventing yourself, the guy blushed. When his section was done, he came over and gave me that handshake, where you put your hand on the guy's shoulder and shake his hand. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
For a real question.
Yeah. Hangman Adam Page, his character is kind of based on him in that he has an inferiority complex and anxiety issues. And I asked him about what it was like being in a company where we've had people who feel secure enough in their job that they can talk about their depression, their anxiety, things like that. So got him to talk about those issues. But here's the news for those of you with comics. I asked Tony Khan, hey, you're on TNT. That's owned by Warner, same as DC. And when you started, DC Comics had some art done of the wrestlers. Are you going to be doing more stuff with other parts of Warner Brothers over the next year? He said, yeah, we're doing something with DC. I've got a bunch of pitches in front of them. So there's that. There you go. There's your comic news.
Okay.
I am probably
this is a comic book podcast. We do got to cover comics somewhere.
I will have an interview with Tony Schiavone.
Oh, sweet. Because he's got a book coming up.
That's why. And I think here's the idea I have, Joe. We do it on a Thursday night, so both you and I can talk to Tony after we've read his book. And my partner from PW Insider, Anthony Pyrus, would like to be involved in that too.
Well, that could be fun.
I thought you might like that. And the last thing is a little story. One of the things about Tony Khan, if you follow him on any of his interviews or anything where he talks in public, he has this thing where if you kind of challenge him with bad news or a bad story or anything, he will turn on you and go after you. One of the guys said, well, your Rampage show doesn't get the best ratings. And, the ratings started at this and now they're here. And is there are you disappointed in the show? Do you think TNT is going to move it? And you got that feeling like he was in the old Three Stooges thing. Slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch. And he just went after the guy. And having listened to Tony Khan speak, after he gets that mood, he stays in that mood. And we'd only been talking to Tony Khan for about 15 minutes. So I took it upon myself to save us all, him yelling at us for the next hour, by saying, well, one of the things that doesn't get reported is how well you do in streaming and on demand and day plus 7 ratings. Is there any way you could talk to us about how well Rampage does in those metrics? Because a lot of younger viewers don't watch TV when it's on, or they don't watch TV normally. Boom, he was off to the races so that he could brag about how he had beat SmackDown a few weeks ago and got to beat on that horse a little more and turn things around. And my bosses both said, not only did I do a good job, but hey, way to step in and turn the mood. Good job on that. So
that was going to be my follow-up. I was curious, how did Dave and Mike like your coverage?
They both said that I was really professional and I did a really good job.
There, you are now a professional. Well, wait a minute. Are you being paid and or compensated for this?
Yes.
Then you are a professional.
Yes. So that was my weekend, and now I don't have anything to talk about for freaking and geeking.
Well, that's fine. Well, let's go. Let's keep going.
Well, I have some freaking, but I don't have my geeking
matches?
now.
How were the matches?
The matches were fantastic. This was one of the top to bottom best wrestling pay-per-views ever. They knocked it out of the park. There was only one match where the crowd was kind of down. I've never been in a place that loud. I've been there for Timberwolves games. I've been at Motorhead concerts where I'm next to the speakers, and the crowd was insanely loud. You know, there was one time where one of the heels came out and said something bad about Prince. I've never heard anybody get booed that bad. And then the crowd was chanting Purple Rain. But when we got to the main event and the babyface challenger was doing his comeback against the heel champion, you know how people will stomp on the floor and you can hear it with boom, 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 boom. I'm not joking. I was, 5 rows up, so you're not in the stand, you're on that part that they push out. It was shaking. It was so loud. I got to see Kenny Omega, my favorite wrestler in the world, who I never thought I would ever see live because he wrestled in Japan forever. And whenever he was in Ring of Honor, he was only at their big shows because they would have to fly him in. He was living in Japan until AEW. I never thought I'd see Kenny Omega live. Not only did I see Kenny Omega live, I saw him lose his title in a great match and found out for the last year he's been wrestling with a banged up shoulder, a hernia, knee issues, and vertigo. So hats off to him for working for a year with those injuries. He's taking off till at least February. He may take off longer depending on if he needs shoulder surgery or not. If you're a wrestling fan, go get Full Gear. Go get Full Gear.
Was our boy Orange Cassidy there?
Yes. And the match he was in was funny because it was, 3 guys who, just. No, wait, that was Wednesday. He was in that match. He was on Rampage in the main event. And they got beat up by Matt Hardy's group, laid out at the end. And afterward, the baby faces get up and he says, I took a lot of hits to the head. I can't do the best friend's hug, but I know somebody who can. He went out and there was this little girl in the front row, couldn't have been more than 5. And he called her Little OC because she was dressed just like Orange Cassidy. Brought her in and said, can you do the best friend's hug? 1, 2, 3. And rather than go and, be in the mass hug, she ran over and hugged him. So really, really fun show. Really enjoyed it. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
We're not?
No, we've spent 30 minutes talking about that. And I actually had a theme for the night.
Oh, that's good because I figured I would just sit back and, read comics while you talk wrestling.
I thought we could talk about something because news broke today, Joe.
I didn't do it.
Big
if I did, I regret the error.
Dark Horse
too.
Nope, Dark Horse has got the rights to do Star Wars books.
Oh, really?
And at first, when you read the announcement, it's just, hey, we're doing Star Wars again. But I've gone back and gotten more detail. The kids' books that IDW are doing are moving over to Dark Horse. Marvel will still keep the regular Star Wars license, but for the kids' books, it's moved over to Dark Horse from IDW. And there are, licensed books are something I find fascinating in the modern era because it used to be Dell / Gold Key / Whitman would do the licensed books for movies and TV because they were in LA. Marvel and DC But they had a couple. Marvel had, what is it, My Friend Irma, although there are rumors that they never really got the rights to it. They just put out a book when it was a radio show, and nobody stopped them. DC had Mr. District Attorney, which was a radio show, and then they had The Adventures of Jerry Lewis and The Adventures of Bob Hope. But they never really had licensed books. That was all Dell when they would do movie adaptations, and the Disney books and the Warner Brothers books and all that. But once we get to the direct sales era, a lot of smaller companies would take a license to get some attention. And it started with Dark Horse. Dark Horse was kind of meh until they got the Alien license. And then they became an upper tier publisher. They followed it up with Predator. They followed it up with Terminator. Then they got Star Wars. But a lot of companies will, like Dynamite. Dynamite is all licensed books for the most part. Boom. Didn't start with licensed books, but they are doing more and more licensed books. Marvel is doing some. DC, you think, would do a lot more since they're connected to Warner Brothers. They don't do that many licensed books for something connected to Warner's.
Well, you remember why? Because the way they're a vertical company, you have to convince the head of that company, why should I bother spending my money on your property? Whereas Disney, being a horizontal company, it's like the CEO says, okay, guys, we got a new property. All hands on deck. One better than the other? Who knows?
But I thought we could talk about books that currently aren't licensed that we would like to see licensed. Just, some ideas. And the first one I've been thinking of is one that has had a license here and there, but really is kind of faded away and you don't hear much from it anymore, and that's the X-Files. IDW had a really cool X-Files series. Topps had an X-Files series. But I think if somebody were to do a licensed X-Files book now and had good distribution, Fox brought it back for 2 seasons. Quality-wise, it was iffy. But I think you get somebody who's given free rein to say, okay, here you go, clean up the continuity errors by fixing the conspiracy, move forward, tie up all these weird loose ends that are sitting out there. I think fans would really like it, and it would sell as a book in bookstores, because Fox bringing it back showed people still care about the X-Files. It's just that the execution wasn't all that great. And I think somebody could kind of say, like they did with Buffy, all right, this is the next season of the X-Files, and we're fixing things and clearing things up and kind of bringing it all back together. And I can't think of, creators I'd like to see, but it's a book I'd like to see, and I think that would be a good hook to kind of make it where instead of, okay, it's Monster of the Week, it would be, okay, this is an X-Files book you have to read because it all is revealed in this. Although thinking about it, the guy, James Tynan IV, who does Department of Truth, would be really good on an X-Files book. Joe, what idea do you have?
Normally, I would go off on a rant about Babylon 5, but being as J. Michael Straczynski is working on a reboot of Babylon 5, I don't want to talk much about it. The odds of him listening to anything we say is pretty slight, but there's well known that if you say something like, I would like to see this happen and that happen, and he happens to see it, it's not going to happen because of legal ramification. There was a incident during the original Babylon 5 where some guy on one of the boards was just just ruminating what he thought might happen. Unfortunately, he hit the nail right on the target. And Straczynski was like, oh, shit, I can't use that now. Fortunately, the guy who found out about it was more than willing to say, I will sign anything you say that says I have no rights to this idea, it wasn't my idea, blah, 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 because that's the problem. You know, you get people that'll come in and say that. So much as I got 101 ideas what we could do with old Babylon 5 continuity, there's new stuff in the works, so that is off the table. That said, one that I think should have been done, and again, Time Warner, we're looking at you, Harry Potter. Why there wasn't a Harry Potter comic book is beyond me. Yeah, books and magic, whatever. But even to this day, I mean, let me just fire something up here. I'm on, somehow I got hooked on Quora. I don't know if you've been there.
Oh, yeah.
There, Cory?
Yeah, I've been there.
It's just kind of like a fan site where people talk. And the one thing I really like is there's a huge Harry Potter, I don't know what you call it, Quora, I guess, where they talk about different concepts and different things. How come this didn't happen? Why isn't this? People speculating, well, who could have gone toe-to-toe with Dumbledore? So much you could do to fill in the holes, to talk about other stories, where, you know, whether you want to place it before Harry got there, during the 7 years the movies allegedly and the books took place, afterwards, which is certainly wide open for everything. And it would work very well in the comic book format because we've already seen how well fantasy would work. There are certain things you can do in a comic book that you don't have to do in a movie because of CGI. There's no CGI budget. You don't have to worry about it. You just need someone to draw competently. Even with the property you talked about, Cory, you want someone who can at least draw the characters the way they look. There may be problems with using likenesses, but you still have to make it so that I open the book, I know instantly, oh, that's Mulder or Scully, or that's Harry, or that's Voldemort. I don't need to be guessing, hoping that somebody awkwardly uses a word balloon to say, oh, Harry, would you? Oh, that's Harry who they're talking about. I should have guessed. He's the only guy wearing glasses. So yeah, the art needs to be proper. Story-wise, any number of people who have done, you know, fantasy movie type tie-ins, non-movie tie-ins. You could just go really crazy with that. I mean, I talked about it in one of the computer games I currently fell in love with that I talked about, the Hogwarts Mystery, where I'm playing a character around the time that Harry was an infant and saved. You know, the whole wizard will know it because he defeated he who must not be named. And it's what's driving the story is, yeah, the gameplay gets kind of boring, and some of it's, you know, you don't get to barrel through the story. You have to like do A, B, C, D before you get to the meat of where you want the story to continue. But it's still kind of fun because it's its own story. I actually feel like I'm playing a part in the Harry Potter universe, even though I'll never meet the main characters other than the teachers because they're still infants. So yeah, there's just so much more. Even I haven't seen any of the Fantastical Beasts movies, but even they're talking about, what about magic around the world? Can you get more into Grindelwald? You know, he was the one that apparently aided the Nazis during World War II. In fact, Voldemort defeated him about the same time World War II came to an end. And so there's a whole underlining story there that hasn't really been fleshed out. I don't know if the Fantastical Beasts were going to cover that or not. Again, I haven't seen the movies. I know they had a movie or a book based on the stage play based in the future that fans hated. But I'm like, hey, I got no problem shoehorning canon in. Just because I don't like it, I can figure it out. A comic series based on this would have been wildly popular during the whole Harry Potter craze. Look at My Little Pony, for an example. I mean, how many of that first issue sold like crazy And I know we talked about it when it was coming out. So to me, that's a property that there is so much more they could do. There are so many questions being asked. It should be done. And again, you never know, because I know sometimes Time Warner in their infinite wisdom license these things way out of proportion to what they could actually make. So you never know. Maybe somebody has tried and it's just not being done. But in my world, this could be a big seller, especially since we've seen how graphic novels sell. Harry Potter graphic novels, especially original stuff. I mean, we don't even need to mention adaptations you could do. So that would be my first property I would revisit. How about you, Cory? What else you got?
Joe, you watch a lot of Netflix. Did you watch the series The Santa Clarita Diet?
I did not.
That was a series with Drew Barrymore and Timothy Olyphant, where Drew Barrymore has become a zombie, but it's a different kind of zombie, as that she's she eats people, and she could be dead, but she also kept her personality and intelligence, etc., etc. And we find out that there's this kind of mystic weirdness conspiracy behind it, and it ended without a true conclusion. The last episode was that her husband got basically turned into the same thing that she was. We have no answers as to why these things happen. There was all these unresolved cliffhangers. The show was fairly popular. The creators should go to somebody like Dark Horse or IDW or someone and say, hey, we want to wrap everything up. We'll do a 12-issue comic series or a 6-issue comic series to wrap up the story. And a lot of the stuff that I think of when I think of things that things that would benefit from a comic series would be series that were canceled on a cliffhanger. I know that Jericho, which ran for 2 seasons on CBS, they did a 3rd and 4th season with the series creators at IDW. Well, they did it with one company that went under, and then IDW picked it up. Then IDW was going to collect the 2 series in a book, and that kind of fell apart, and I don't know why, but I think Santa Clarita Diet's the one that I could think of where it had a huge fan base that was really, hey, you canceled this on a cliffhanger. And there are a lot of series that get canceled on cliffhangers that, hey, just so people could get a sense of closure and know where you were going. And also, that's, a couple million people who would be interested, who want to know how it ended. Get that book out there for them. So Santa Clarita Diet's the first one that I could think of that was canceled by Netflix without an ending. Joe?
I'm going to lump these two together, and this also kind of goes under maybe these properties are too old to care for people to care. But to me, Gary Anderson's property UFO and Space 1999 could maybe benefit with this type of revisit or revamp. I say that because it has so much possibility of things that were never realized, especially in the case of UFO, where after 2 seasons and some really funky going on, studio went, I don't know what they did, if they went on hiatus or went on strike. When they came back, certain actors weren't available, so we had different characters. And for a syndicated show of the time, it was really pretty sophisticated for science fiction. They went with some pretty crazy themes, things that you just didn't see done on later on Star Trek and things like that. Personal relationships, downright horror when they discover what the aliens are actually doing. And you visit the Space 1999, which was it wasn't really a sequel. In my mind, it is, because it could have very well been, okay, they shut down UFO because the UFOs stopped attacking. Well, with the obvious advances they made, not only in well, they really couldn't grab UFO technology. It had a tendency to blow up when on Earth too long. But that's what started the Space 1999 moon base. And of course, it blows up, goes out of reality. You know, they don't really cover a lot in the show, because when you watch Space 1999, you get the first season, which was real science fiction and philosophical, and then the second season was more action-packed. Characters disappeared. They didn't ever do jobs of saying, hey, what happened to, well, especially the guy who played the doctor. I can't remember the actor's name. I'm not going to look it up. In the first season, he totally disappeared. In the second season, so did a number of other main characters. In UFO, they did actually address some of that. I've got the box set here. I don't know if I can tell the actors on it by just looking on the back. No, well, no, okay. George Sewell played Colonel Alec Freeman, who's kind of like Ed Bishop's character, Ed Stryker, kind of like his right-hand man. Well, he was one of the guys who kind of disappeared during the second, well, I don't know if you'd call it season, but during the second half. And who took his place was, I believe it was Wanda, forgive an old man who just can't get his glasses going. I think it's Ventham. She played Colonel Virginia Lake, a character who appeared in the earlier season. And now she was essentially the second in command. Never mind, she was, a woman and, fell to womanly ways and blah, 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 whatever. There's a little bit of sexism for a show in the 70s. But they do make comments that, oh, by the way, Alex Freeman says hello because he's off on a special mission. Space 1999 didn't do that. They just kind of had all these people disappear, never to be seen again. And you're on a moon base. It's not like these people are walking around the planet Earth. Where did they go? What did they do? Did they leave? So there's certain things you could do. You could also deal with what happened after the show. Most of the comic books, again, these are Carlton's, were okay, I guess. You could easily, to me, I like to go off Alan Moore's idea where all stories happen. So if I can figure a way, and I have the rights to shoe in some of the other stories, I would do it, make it part of the canon. I don't know, I might have, they did actually have on YouTube a filmed sort of ending for Space 1999. I don't know if you ever saw it, Cory. It actually was in one of the box sets if you ever bought it. But you can look at it, just a 15-minute thing where they decide to, the moon is going into a portion of the galaxy where they're not quite sure if they'll survive it. Plus, they're passing by what we'd call in Star Trek a Class M planet. So they decided to abandon the base and go onto this planet with the moon eventually circling away its round in 25 years. And then they would decide if they're going to hop back on the moon because it would be on a trajectory back to Earth. So that's kind of a goodbye message. And then as the message fades, it goes into this symbol, this weird transmission, which we see in the very beginning of the first episode of Space 1999. Kind of ties everything together. I figured a really horrific way to tie it into UFO, which I won't, again, I think I talked about it in a previous episode. I'm not going to go into it now. But again, this is just a series that to me has a lot of really cool concepts, a lot of ways you got to go in and explain, hey, what was going on. There was a graphic novel done by, was it Titan, who dealt with, they did an adaptation from the Carlton books of Breakaway, which was the first Space in 1999, and another story which was equally as brilliant, dealing with what was going on Earth when they're all watching up and they see the moon break away. It had some terrifying consequences for people on the planet. Plus, I also like the idea of the guys on Moonbase Alpha discovering the old UFO base, because I really love those shadow interceptors. Remember those, Cory? They had those big nuclear missiles on the tip.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I'd like to see those things fly next to an eagle. That would, hey, you want to mess with us? Well, here, have 3 nukes down your, only 3, though. Thank God those UFOs didn't come in 4. We would have been screwed. So that's my property. I tie the two together. I go with it. What you got next?
Next, what I have is a movie, and you can almost say that Marvel did a continuation of it, kind of underhandedly and without paying any license fees. But that character has changed and is something different now. So why not Enter the Dragon, the Bruce Lee movie from 1973 that made him a international superstar posthumously. It's the story of the Bruce Lee character, who's basically just Bruce Lee, going to a tournament at an evil mastermind's island lair. So Bruce Lee is kind of this super spy who's a well-known martial artist, and this is such a setup for a series, because it's okay, he has to do the tournament. Oh, the tournament gets derailed because he's infiltrating the evil villain's secret hideout. Now, Marvel's Master of Kung Fu, if you look at especially the art by Paul Gulacy was just drawing Bruce Lee. He would draw Shang-Chi as Bruce Lee. And, they added stuff from the Fu Manchu novels. But it's Bruce Lee, okay? It's a version of Bruce Lee. Well, now that Shang-Chi has changed into a different character to fit the modern era, there's place for a Bruce Lee series that spins out of Enter the Dragon, his adventures afterward, dealing with kind of James Bondish like villains, but with martial arts instead of gadgets and wisecracks. I think this would be a fantastic series, and you would, yes, you'd have to license it so it would look right. But Joe, do you remember the name of Bruce Lee's character in that movie?
I have to confess, while I own the DVD, I have yet to watch it.
Oh, you got to watch it.
Trust me, I got tons of shit to watch.
Perfect action movie. But Bruce Lee's character in the movie is named Lee. So you could call it Bruce Lee, you could call it Enter the Dragon, you could call it Adventures of Lee, whatever. I think it would be a fantastic comic series to kind of use that martial arts era mixed with the spy stuff, and you could infuse it with all that 70s nostalgia. I think it could be an excellent, excellent comic. Joe?
All right, I think this is going to be my last one, because how are we on time here?
This is your last one, and then
all right.
Last one.
I've talked to you about this one, and this is one of those where one of these years I'm either just going to write it out and get it out of my system, or just forever keep it and just go to sleep dreaming of it. I have this reoccurring idea of revisiting all the old 70s and maybe some into the 90s Croft shows, Sid and Marty Krofft, and bringing home all those kids that were lost. I'm talking Billy on Puffin stuff. I'm talking, it was the actor who played Eddie Munster on Lidsville. I'm talking The Land of the Lost Family, the Marshalls. I'm talking the babysitter and the kid on The Lost Saucer. The people stuck under Dr. Shrinker, the madman with an evil mind. And I think I figured out the perfect first issue, which I'm not going to bore you with because it's kind of fan fiction. But it essentially would involve who's the only one who ever, that we know, got out of Land of the Lost?
That was the dad.
Yep.
Marshall.
You think he's going to be happy just sitting back, wondering what happened to his family, especially when he finds out I'm assuming Uncle Rick was his brother, went in after him and he disappeared? What do you think the authorities are going to do? Oh, you suddenly appear after 2 years, assuming time works the way it does in Land of the Lost, it may not, and your family's gone and you're not? Plus, it starts where he kind of goes, you have to know what you're looking for. seemingly unrelated events where people disappear that shouldn't and are never seen again. Such as Billy. He was a famous, the way I read this, and again, I may be wrong because I haven't watched these shows in ages, but he was kind of a known singer with his flute. And suddenly the last we see, he jumps on a boat, he disappears in a storm, and that's the last we see of him. How about the other kid? Where'd he go? He went to go see this magician and he disappeared after that. That was the last time we saw him in the audience, and nobody has found the magician. It's assuming it was, the great CNR again. And then, of course, Rick would be saying, and then there's also some things where, could they be related? There's scenes of monsters down by the seashore that people seem to be reporting. And then he figures out he has to find, with the help of going to a certain bar in D.C. called D.C. Follies, where the bartender, Freddie, gives him an idea. Why don't you go visit a Museum of Natural History, where he finds, and I think it was called the Mugatti, not to be confused with the red thing on Star Trek, or the monster on Star Trek and below decks, which is what allowed Enoch to control the time doorways. Now, the one in Land of the Lost got burned out. Go back, it's on one of the episodes. He uses it to summon the only thing he knows, or he doesn't know, but he figures that can travel between dimensions. And of all that stuff, Cory, what do you think would be that property? If you're up on your Sid and Marty Krofft shows.
I honestly don't know, because I like the idea of a sequel to Land of the Lost, because one of the writers, at least, is still very excited about the project.
Oh, yeah.
And that's David Gerrold's.
Yep. We talked about that when I went to the Star Trek con, and I asked them, is there anything working on it? And they are working on it. It's just a matter of time, and if the Krofft brothers are willing to do it. But if you ever watched Lost Saucer, the Lost Saucer flipped from dimension to dimension as these bumbling robots played by Ruth Buzzy and Jim Nabors tried to find their way back to their original Earth planet. Because when they left the planet, they were freaking out because the opening episode shows all the fire trucks and police coming on this saucer because a UFO landed, and they take off in a panic, not realizing, oh no, they're just curious. They're not here to harm you. But that's the gist of the Lost Saucer. They go from, and this brings up some really good, if you ever get a chance to see it, I don't think it's ever been released on DVD. They have some really heady science fiction episodes. Like the one planet they go on, everybody is covered and is known by a number. And naturally, they're arrested because they're out there without being covered and being known as a number. Pretty heady for a kid in the 70s. There's just certain scenes that crack me up when I do this. Like obviously when you get to Dr. Shrinker's Island, because that's where people disappear, he's going to shrink you down, and that's how you run into the Bugaloos. Who else doesn't want to see a rerun of Martha Ray Denchaware as Rita? Anyways, I'm just having a lot of fun with this. And then of course, I'm trying to bring in all the properties, how to bring in the revamp a lot. Was it the 80s or 90s when they revisited the subpar Land of the Lost? How you bring in Wild Boy and Sasquatch, Pink, Donny Osmond. They did all those shows. If you're interested, Sid and Marty Krofft, I got your property figured out here. Again, these are childhood properties. They do bring them back occasionally. I would love to see them revisited, because to me, it's like you get all these guys that are been abandoned. You should bring them back somehow. And I'd place it in the 70s so they're all still kids. Too much for you? Too insider? I think Cory and I agree. Land of the Lost itself would be a fascinating bring back in comic. You could even skip the third season if you want, and just continue with the second season as if the earthquake never happened. Although you could be some interesting foreshadowing, because they suddenly start feeling earthquakes, but not enough to be severe. Anyways, there, I gave you 2 for the price of 1. What's your last one, Mr. Strode?
My last one is a pair of movies. The first one made $350 million. The second one made $460 million. And then there have been no sequels. Even though it is one of the easiest ideas for doing more stories, and it's owned by Disney, so Marvel could do it. National Treasure. National Treasure was a movie starring Nicolas Cage, kind of the last Nicolas Cage movie where he was able to get tons and tons and tons of people to go to a movie theater and see him. You'll see jokes about it still all over the internet. And the last movie made almost made $120 million more than the first, but still no sequel. It is the story of Benjamin Franklin Gates, a treasure hunter, historian, and cryptologist who finds secret things hidden in the American past. We've got to steal the Declaration of Independence. We have to get in and look through the Resolute desk. And yet there haven't been any sequels. And all I could think is that, it has to be some sort of contractual obligation thing where everybody wants too much money or whatever. But boy, I'm amazed that no one has picked up on that. It's like Indiana Jones. I'd love to see more Indiana Jones comics. We've had some, but they didn't do all that great. But this is kind of a modern Indiana Jones and I think if Marvel would put out, a series of miniseries, collect them in books, people would go ape for them. There are still people talking about National Treasure. I would love to see more of this stuff. And it's actually this movie that got me thinking about it, because one of the things I do when I cover wrestling, I watch the end of whatever's showing on TNT, because I like to be ready. So I've got my laptop set up. I have the station turned on 5 minutes beforehand. I have seen the end of The Accountant more times than I've seen Star Wars. Same with The Equalizer. But every so often you see ads, this weekend, National Treasure and National Treasure Book of Secrets will be showing back to back. And I'm like, oh yeah, I love those movies. And they didn't do anything with them. Now, there's something that you can do as a fan of this website, and that is visit our sponsor, Nordvpn. Our newest sponsor is Nordvpn. Let's be honest, if you're out on the internet, you need a VPN to protect you. There's all sorts of things going on the internet where people can track you. You could accidentally download a keylogger, all sorts of things. Nordvpn gives the best security possible. It has a password manager which generates complex passwords, syncs across all your devices, stores your notes and credit card information. It also gives you 10 gigabytes of private cloud storage, secure files that backs up your data automatically. But the main thing it gives you is peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind when you're out on the internet, when you're streaming, when you're playing games, when you're listening to podcasts like this one. It gives you safety anywhere at any time. It protects your online activity. You get full access to all content. And if you use the link go.nordvpn.net sh3ku, it'll take you to where you can get a great deal for a 1 month plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. They are our newest sponsor. We're happy to have them. And if you would like to sponsor something here at any of the podcasts on the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email me, solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. Or we've got other podcasts, and this I hope you'll really like. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is currently on a pause, basically because COVID-19 has made it so that I have to work a lot of extra hours at both jobs. But you can still go and listen to my other podcasts. Now, you're probably listening to Crazy Comics and Stories, which is the main podcast. But on this same feed, KRAYZCOMIX, is Solitaire Rose Radio, the solo radio podcast that I do. I've done interviews, I've done short stories, I've done all sorts of things, and you can get to it right here on this same feed. I also do a podcast called Novelcast, where I take the novels I've written and turn them into free audiobooks. That's over at novels.solitairerose.com. Dangerous Dan Moore and I, and of course Wolfie B. Bad, give you bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. You send in your questions, and we give you the aforementioned bad advice. And then myself and Adam Vermillion from For the Love of Comics do the Fantastic Forecast at fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com, where we go through the issues of the Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time, to give the plot and commentary on each issue. That's not all. Yes, I'm crazy. I still, over at pwinsiderelite.com, every week on Wednesday, do a recap of the latest episode of AEW Dynamite. I write up what happened, and then myself and Anthony Pyrus will do an audio. Now, you can only listen to the audio, if you remember, at pwinsiderelite.com, and if you're a wrestling fan, you should be, where we then break down the episode, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, give it a grade, and let you know if you should have watched that episode. Those are the other podcasts here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network. Thanks. And now we get to Joe's favorite part of the show. No, not where we let him talk about Land of the Lost for the next 45 minutes.
Oh, I could do it.
No, it's Joe, what's going on the eBays?
All sorts of stuff. I've been...
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Yep. Actually, yesterday was kind of an interesting day. I was going to talk about it a little bit in geeking, but I'll talk about it now because it's all tied to my work schedule. I'm finally on my normal schedule, and I don't have anything to do, which is really weird because normally I get to a day off, I got tons of stuff to do. Yesterday, being a Wednesday, I didn't. And I sat down here, and I got a glimpse of what it would be like when I finally do retire in 3 years, 2 months, and 12 days. Not that I'm counting. Actually, it'll be 2 days by the time this year podcast drops. I basically just eBayed all day. No, it wasn't like a solid eBay, but, I pulled things out of boxes. I tried to figure if they were worth putting on eBay or not. I boxed up some stuff. I researched stuff. It was, every so often I'd go off on a tangent. I'd be looking at something and discovering something really weird. Kind of like, just look at some of the last couple eBay podcast thingies I did. I'm not going to regale you with any. Got to save something for the next time. But it was just relaxing. It was fun, and it gave me a chance to do some catch up. Not only am I putting on stuff that I've taken off, I'm repricing stuff up or down, and putting on some new things, as well as selling things, such as I sold an Amazing Spider-Man 573. It's a 2008. I believe it was, what was the storyline? New Ways to Die, Part 6. It had something to do with, this is the John Romita Jr. cover with Norm Osborn on it. Good old Normie. I sold a Sinister War Gary Frank Virgin variant cover. That was only from last year, so see you newer. If you wanted yourself a South Park Big Gay Al Super 5 1/2 sticker from 1998, forget it. Sold my last one. Also sold my last one at Walgreens. I mentioned they had the Marvel Legends Nova exclusive action figures that people are going gaga over. So I found 3, sold 2, kept 1. I don't know. I think we've talked about the book, The Comic Book Killer. Did you ever read this one, Cory?
Yes, by Max Collins, yes.
No, this one was, this is different. This is a book that came out, when did this sucker come out? It was by Richard A. Lupoff. And it came out.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
2011. And what was interesting is when it first came out, the first editions were in a hardcover slipcase that included a comic book called Gangster Wars, which tied into the stories. You can find editions without the comic. As a matter of fact, I remember my first one I bought years ago from Dreamhaven Books. I had put in my comic store, and then some bitch stole the freaking comic book out of it. Go figure, some people's kids. I know I read it. It reads via Google Reads or Google Books. Fast-paced, riotous romp through the crazy world of comic books. Has a plot that unfolds at breakneck speed, is funny, and has a host of wildly eccentric characters. A suspenseful tale with an original and colorful background. This was Marcia Miller and Bill Prozzini on Google Books talking about that. I read it. I got nothing. Whatever it was, it did not stick with me, which is why I sold my copy on the eBays. You can find the book itself relatively cheap with the slipcase with this aforementioned comic book, around $30 here and there. So if you're so interested, check it out. Maybe it's as funny as they think they were. I sold a Star Trek number 56 Gold Key from 1978. Let's see, Cerebus Companion, which one of those books, I believe it was done under different things. Cerebus Reader, Cerebus, just different guys talking about Cerebus. The Cerebus Companion, there were only 2 issues, and then it went off onto something else. If you're a fan, you definitely want to look it up because they always had reviews and things in it. Let's see, sold a Star Wars number 4, Camicolini variant cover from Marvel 2005. Spider-Man Return of the Burglar hardcover, first print. This was kind of my golden age of comics, which led up to the first appearance and supposed alleged death of her Black Cat, as Peter Parker was realizing, hey, Aunt May really didn't die. And of course, on the way, he ends up fighting. First of all, he realizes Mysterio had something to do with it, and Kingpin intercepts him. They have a wild fight, which is just them duking each other out for a page. And then Kingpin leaves, not to come back till Daredevil. And then, of course, right into issue 200. And as far as I remember, Spider-Man never does end up confronting Mysterio, but he gets around to it. Did you ever read, Cory, Bizarro from DC 2015 with Jimmy Olsen and, Bizarro, of course?
Yeah, it was weird. I remember it was really weird.
It was. I'm reading on Atomic Avenue. Hate Harley Quinn? Then you super hate Bizarro. Bizarro, star of worstest comic ever. Go ahead and miss it. There's one thing this issue not have. These 2 things. Jimmy Olsen and Chupacabras. Let's see. Heath Corson, Gustavo Durante did the art with help later on as... I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun series. I picked up the book, so I sold off the comic. Going to... Oh, where's this bad boy going to? Did you ever watch, Cory, She-Ra and the Princess of Power, the 2018 DreamWorks TV show?
I have not, but boy, I know some people who absolutely deeply love that show.
Yeah, it was on Netflix. For some reason, I picked up She-Ra doll. And these things are going for wild money because they did not hang around that long. I put mine up at what the lowest price on eBay, and it sold really fast. And then you're like, oh my gosh. And it's going overseas. So I think overseas, might be going to Canada. I don't remember. But whoever gets it, I put in a flyer for our show. So if you're listening to us, hey, good day. Eh? That was Canada. So it's on its way. Did you ever, as a kid, Cory, get that giveaway from your power company, electricity safety from A to Zap?
No, because we lived in an area where both the phone company and the electric company were co-ops, which meant that everybody owned them.
Okay.
And you would pay your bill, and then a couple years later, they would have figured out all the profit, and everybody who was a customer got a check back based on the profit that either the electric company or the phone company had made. And then by the time I got older, they'd the electric co-op had dissolved. I think the phone co-op still exists. And from what I have heard from, my grandparents, is one of the things about bringing both electric and phone to rural areas, no company wanted to do it. Like here in Minnesota, you had, what's the name of the electric company here? I can't even think. But
I don't remember anymore. CenturyLink, Quest, somebody like that.
No, the electric company.
Oh, electric?
Yeah.
XL Energy.
XL.
Yeah.
And they owned it. Well, in rural areas, no company wanted to go there because there weren't enough people to make it hugely profitable. So as part of the New Deal, they set up these co-ops for electric and for phone. Because while the cities all had electric by the 20s, rural areas didn't. So that was part of the New Deal. We're bringing phone and electric. Since no company wants to do it, everybody owns a piece of it. There'll be a company in the middle that kind of runs it, but then all the profit goes back to the customers because the customers own the company. There you go. There's a little bit of history.
Whee!
But no, we didn't get free comics because, we owned it.
Yeah, this one was given away, obviously, to kids because the one I had dated from 1972. And our power company at the time was NSP Northern States Power. So it was semi-rare. You can find this on eBay real easy. Just electricity safety, A to Zap, whatever. Just put in that in the comics. And what's interesting is all the different power companies, because they would put their own imprint on it. So you can hopefully maybe buy the one that you remember being in your area. And of course, Northern States Power ended up merging with XL Energy. So that's the end of that. So, and these are all on newsprint. The last thing I'll talk about is more of an apology, because I sent out a copy of Exiles Volume 6, Number 9, the Raza Valkyrie variant cover, near mint, to Jason. I have no idea if he listens to our show. Hopefully you are, Jason. Unfortunately, when he got it, he contacted me and said, this really isn't near mint. There were like a printer error on the side. You've probably seen it where it's not an error from your comic shop or a box. It's just, it must have rubbed and scuffed or something, and you got it that way. And I didn't even see it because I don't know. It's there. I can't deny that. Well, he asked about it, and I think he was worried. I just said, dude, no worries. Return it. I gave him a full refund. I took pictures of it. I relisted it on eBay. So if you want to get it for less than what he paid for it for the fine price, because this is like $100 comic. I mean, I got to tell you, I was a little embarrassed that I sent somebody a $100 comic, and it's like, you said it's near mint, and it's not. And Jason was at least kind enough to at least reach out to me instead of just dinging me negative, or worse, just, sending it to me. I want to return this because I changed my mind, or no reason at all. So, again, my fault entirely. I regret the error. I don't regret what else is on eBay. And like I said, I put a lot of things on, and by the time this here podcast rolls, who knows what else will be on there. I just know I've got enough stuff here that I will have plenty of fun stuff to put on the eBays. And you know where to go, and you know what to do. Crazy, K-R-A-Y-Z, come get some.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where I go watch the pay-per-view that I was in attendance on so that I could see what they were talking about at the commentary table while we were all screaming and destroying our voices.
Now, when you said you're behind the hard cam, that means you won't be on camera?
No.
Oh.
It was not on camera for any of it.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's freaking and geeking, Joe. What are you freaking on?
I'm not going to get too heavy into it, but my father-in-law is not doing very well. Whatever you higher powers you believe in, I could use a little help. Sacrifice a comic, eat a pie, pray to your God. Not doing good. He's 90s. He's suffering from COVID a little. Hopefully next week I can report better news. But it's weighting down. It's hard on my wife. It's hard on me. I'm trying to be supportive. So I think that's enough freaking for me, to tell you the truth. Cory, how about you? What got you down? What's freaking you out?
Friday night. Now, I have not been downtown in a couple of years. I haven't
Yeah,
gone to
we
a
thank you for
concert
that.
downtown or anything for a while. Part of it was COVID, but even before that, I wasn't going downtown for much. And I had not been to Target Center since the revamp. So I drive downtown Friday night, and I go and I get off 394 and go into the parking ramp and go up. And oh, look, I tend to go up far enough that I can park near the elevators or the stairs, so it's easier to find my car. So I park near the elevators, and I go, okay, this is the 5th floor. I can remember that. By the elevators, 5th floor. Cool. I go out, I go over to the arena, I watch the show, I come back, I get up in the parking ramp. Now, when I left the arena, when I was crossing the street, I was crossing the street where, you know, you go right across the street to the hotel right across from Target Center. All the wrestlers were crossing at the same time. So I'm crossing pretty much with the Dark Order and MJF and a few other people. I did not fanboy out, although there were some people, you know, it's John Silver. Ah! Me, nope. First off, I'm not going to bother them because they just got done with the 3-hour show. They want to get back to their hotel because they got a pay-per-view tomorrow. And the other thing was, yeah, I'm supposedly a professional, so I need to act like a fucking professional. I go up and I go up the elevator and I get out on the 6th floor. And my car's not there. And I don't do what a lot of people do, which is, oh my God, my car's been stolen. I like, okay, maybe I have something wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering the floor. Maybe there's another elevator and I went up the wrong elevator. I don't know. So first, walked around to see if there was another elevator or find my car. Nope. All right, maybe I'm on the 5th floor. I go down and I go to the 5th floor. And nope, not there. Maybe the 4th floor. You go do the same thing. Couldn't find my car. Now there's a cement thing between one half of the parking garage and the other. It's like, okay, maybe I parked on the other half. I can't really see can't really see the layout of the other side. Maybe I'm on the other side. Do the same thing. Now I had my Fitbit on, Joe. By the time I was done, I had spent 45 minutes walking around looking for my car, and I'd got in my 10,000 steps.
Did you have to pee in a corner?
No. And every so often I would get out my key, because I've got the electronic gadget on the thing where you can tap it and the phone and the alarm in the car will go boo, 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 and annoy everybody in the parking garage. Nothing. And at that point I go, okay, I've got two choices. I could call the cops, which is stupid, or I could just go downstairs and ask if I can look at some of the cameras and see if I can see my car. So I go downstairs, and as I'm going down, I look over, and it's like, oh, look, there's another parking ramp and another parking ramp. I don't remember there being 3 parking ramps here. They must have built another parking ramp when they built Target Field. I think I'm in the wrong parking deck. So I go all the way down and I go to the other parking deck and I go. And by this time, you're questioning everything. Was it the 5th floor? Was it the 4th floor? Was it the 6th floor? Was it the 8th floor? Was it the 3rd floor? So I get in the elevator and I go up to the 5th floor and it's like, nope. And I get out and I push a little thing on for my car and I hear in the distance, pew, 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 pew. And I push it again and boom. All right. I'm in the right parking deck, but I'm on the wrong floor. An hour and 15 minutes later, I find my car. So the next night, I take a picture of where the car is. I take a picture of the ramp. I take a picture of the elevator. I take a picture of everything around me. And then I go, and I didn't have the problem the next night. Because also the next night, we get done with the press conference. Now that the show was over around 11. Press conference got out at 1:15. Yeah, 1:15. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Now, the other thing was I head into the little secret area where it is. And as I'm going in, there are other people who, oh, we want to go in. We want to go in. And you're like, this guy's got credentials. And they're all, let me, bring me in with you. Or like, I'm going to bring a bunch of drunks I don't know down to where I'm supposed to be a grown up. And I get out and they say, do you need security to go back to the parking ramp? And I go, no, I'm in parking ramp B. And she says, well, here's the skyway over to parking ramp B. I walk over, go up, there's my car, no problem. I get home. Now, the audio from the press conference, I have to upload and then I have to mail it. And this is a 2.5-hour press conference. So that audio from the MP3 recorder is big. So it takes a while, and the first 2 times Google says, "Oh no, sorry, man, that file's too big. We think it's spam. We think it's a problem." So I upload it to the Google Drive, and I send the link over to Mike Johnson for the Google Drive, and then I'm writing up the news, the interesting stories from the press conference, and I get done with everything at about 2:30. Did I tell you I had to work Sunday morning, Joe? Did I tell you I had to work at 7 a.m.?
No, you were saving that for the capper.
I had to be up at 5:45 to get a shower and look semi-decent to go to the group home where I worked from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And now this week, it's our busiest week. 3 of my clients are in the middle of open enrollment. I had to work till now Monday and Tuesday. I had to be at the group home from 6 to 10, so I couldn't work late. So they said, well, if you can't work late, we're going to have you clock in 2 hours early. Yesterday, I covered wrestling, so I did work late. Today, I worked till 7. Now I'm doing this. Tomorrow, again, well, you can't work late, so you have to start 2 hours early. And then I go to the group home, and then I'm back at 10. I haven't had time to do anything this week. I literally am subsisting on, I bought I think Tuesday night on my way home, it's like, I haven't eaten anything good for me for 6 days. So I actually stopped at Cubs Food and bought a veggie tray. So everything's pre-made, raw veggies. I don't have to cut. I don't have to do it. Nope. I'm just going to, for my lunch, I'm just going to eat these raw veggies because I don't have time to do anything else. And then I make a sandwich to eat while I drive to the group home. Then I get back and I fall asleep. Friday night, when I get home at 10:30, I'm just going to collapse. When am I getting up? I don't know. I may not. I may stay in bed for a month, but sadly, I can't. So what went on in comics? I don't know. Joe, what are you geeking on?
Oh, all sorts of fun stuff. Let's see. Where should I start? I mentioned last week, quickly as an afterthought, our good buddy Dan Moore has fantasy pins. And I got mine in the mail. It's incredible. They're about 2 inches tall, beautifully colored, individually numbered. He only made 100 of them. So if you're interested in one, get a direct message over to Dan. I did it via Facebook. Good buddy Daniel Moore. So I would check it out. It's a really cool. He's got a picture of it, but man, the picture doesn't do it justice. So definitely check it out. Oh, I'm geeking. I saw the new Spider-Man trailer.
I did too. Really good.
Yeah, I know you're not big on doing trailers though. But yeah, this one was crazy. I caught a bit of it on the Jason show because he always drops the trailers, and I was so oblivious to everything, I didn't even realize it had dropped. And I've watched it about 6-7 times, and probably watch it a few more times tomorrow when I get all geeked up. So I'm looking forward to it. In anticipation of that, when I was talking with my good buddy Eric Turbo down in Florida, he told me I should probably catch the last episode of What If. And I've been watching it. I just doing it at my own pace. And it is good. It ties in a little bit into what's going on in the multiverse. If you watch the end of Loki, well, let's just say if you're into the Marvel movies as a whole, you should probably watch Loki as quick as possible. Only 6 episodes, But everything from here on out is going to tie in. That last episode of What If had me going, huh? And after that, I was going, oh my God, if that means what I think it means. And that's all I'm going to say because it blew me away. If you really want to get the full effect, the second to last episode of What If ties directly into the last episode. You can watch the last episode without anything. If you really want to get the full effect, just watch it all because it all kind of loosely ties together. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun. I mean, if you're like me and you're really going to geek out watching everything get tied together, the movies, the TV shows, the animated, it's as much fun watching this as it is reading the comic books. Speaking of reading comic books, I actually read some comic books.
What?
I know, now that I've got my new job in place, and last week was really slow. This week will be very, very busy. I volunteered to do I'm working the busy days. Busiest fly day of the year is Wednesday. I volunteered to go in and work, mainly because I want to get up some overtime. Because did I mention I got a Hawaiian trip planned for March?
Yes.
Okay, I just got to put ahead because I know you like to wind up a few guests. Who knows? Maybe I'll send you a little MP3 file from the shores of Hawaii. I gotta make sure I can get close enough to the water, hear the waves coming ashore.
Well, and also remember, you're going to be on that plane forever, so you can probably record 4 or 5 episodes.
There is that, but no, I'm just going to sleep. Anyways, I concur with you, Cory. I read the first episode of The Thing. A lot of fun. You know, you could just have Thing be an ongoing miniseries because, like you said, he's kind of the everyman in the Marvel universe. He fits in almost anywhere. He's with the Fantastic Four family. He had his own team up, Marvel 2-in-1, which I loved. Bodyguard. He's been a pro wrestler. He's been in Avengers. I think did he show up in Defenders? I don't remember.
Everybody was in the Defenders at one point or another.
So, yeah, and this first one, the next big thing, part 1, it was just a lot of fun. I'm just going to do some quick blurbs on some of these. I read from Ablaze, the first issue of Gilligan March, Laura, and Other Stories. This is from the artist of Batman and the Joker. Sort of a slice of life story, but there's more going on behind the scenes than meets the eye. The art's good. A lot of variant covers you can choose from. I believe it's a mini series. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. But the first issue has me intrigued. 3 issues came out that I have of The Last Flight Out. Little bum because my 3rd issue has that printer burn I was talking about back in my eBay section. Oh, this should be a freaking movie. It's I absolutely do not agree with the protagonist and his as he's driving the story fast. But basically, it's this is one of 3 arcs leaving the Earth, and he has X amount of time to get his mission accomplished, finding his daughter, and getting back in time to take off. And he's dragging along a Marine team with him. Like I said, the first 3 issues are out. I can't wait to read the final. I did put together from Titan, Ian Livingstone's Freeway Fighter. If you have to buy, borrow, or ignore, I would borrow this one because this is kind of, it leads into, I guess, there's a book series called Freeway Fighter, kind of a, I guess, in the 70s, maybe the 80s, it was a read your own adventure type book, which now I got to go find if I'm interested. This book kind of ties into that. It's not complete story in and of itself, and I have no idea if Titan's ever going to do another 4-issue miniseries. So don't really, I mean, it's good read, it's exciting, it's fun, but if that's all you're going to give me, yeah, read it and then ignore it. My bad. This is from Ahoy Comics. Our good buddy Pete Krause is in it. This is one of those comics, if you have a good sense of humor and you don't mind people poking at the tropes of comic books and comic book superheroes, definitely want to pick this out because I mean I could read stuff out of this. Let's see. Let's just go. Remember those pages of ads inside of things?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, here I'll just read one of them. Dog cigarettes, specially formulated with menthol flavors dogs love. Hours of sophisticated relaxation. Training manual not including. Send $2 to French Pet, Saginaw, Michigan. Underneath that's the joke Bible. Over there is brine shrimp, now with genitalia. Put them in water. Maybe they'll be alive. Maybe they won't. Your guess is as good as ours. Send $1.99 to Tainted Seafood Products, Clearwater, Florida. Just fun stuff. Image, Shadowline, Hellcop #1. They've accidentally tapped into a dimension of hell. They need a Hellcop to keep those some of those things when they bleed over. Lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the first issue of Ant from Eric Larson through Image. He gives a quick history of Ant and why he's kind of ignoring it, but not totally ignoring it. And I know there's been a second issue solicited. I don't know if he's going to go any further with it. Been loving Amazing Spider-Man. I did not know if I would enjoy the new regime, especially the bringing back Ben Reilly, but I am. I am suspicious as all hell of the Beyond Corporation. I love Aunt May. I love what she's doing. And I believe it's a secret, if not minor spoiler warning. But if this leads up to the death of Peter Parker, yeah, all right. I'm good with it. Finally, what I read a while back, I mentioned Marvel Meow from Viz and Marvel. This is the misadventures, I should say, of Chewie, Captain Marvel's cat-like pet Flurkin. If you have a friend who likes pets, if you have a friend who likes Marvel, if you have a friend who likes Captain Marvel, this is definitely worth picking up because Chewie just kind of blots through the Marvel universe the way you and I probably blots through a salted nut roll that's apple pie or pumpkin spice flavored. Cory, I have two of them sitting right in front of me here. We haven't done this in a while. Which one would you like me to eat and give a quick review on?
The pumpkin one, of course.
All right, I'll save apple pie for later. Let's rip this sucker open. I like salted nut rolls. They're Pearson. They're local.
When Dad lived down in St. Paul, I drove by their factory all the time, and I never stopped thinking, I'll do it later. And now I never drive by there anymore.
Yeah. It doesn't
Not
have
a fan?
It's got pumpkin in it, but not enough to really, have enough with it. I don't think I'll go out of my way to eat another one. Yeah, I'm underwhelmed with this one. While I finish chewing, I'm still going off Monkey Mania. Even as we speak, they're about 4 days, a couple days away. They just finished their final tour. I picked up another CD off the eBays called Mickey Dolan Sings Nesmith. And this is basically, as it sounds, Mickey Dolan singing Mike Nesmith songs, kind of as a tribute to his friend. Brand new recordings. Some of them are ones that we've heard before, either under the Monkey Guys, and he gives it his own twist. It's one of those CDs I pop in the car and enjoy. This was originally done as some type of crowdsourcing, right? That's what they call it. Where you give money and it happens. When it happened, I didn't have the money. I would have gone for the autograph one if I could have, but I was able to pick one up off the eBays, and he mentioned it at the concert, so I read it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all I got. No more geeking for me. How about you, Cory? What you geeking on?
Joe, what are you doing on May 7th of 2022?
Allow me to fast forward in time. May 7th. Is that Free Comic Book Day?
Yes, it is. Free Comic Book Day has moved back to May 7th, the first Saturday in May. Make sure you take it off because it has started again. Diamond Comic Distributors has confirmed that Free Comic Book Day will return to its traditional first Saturday in May date in 2022, Saturday the 7th of May. We're so excited for Free Comic Book Day to make its return to the first Saturday of May. We know it's an event that comic fans look forward to. And you know what I should look for? I should look and see what movie premieres that date. Because they also, I remember they did it that day when they first did it, because the first Spider-Man movie came out. And they wanted to kind of tie into how that was coming out. So let's we're going to go to May 2022. Oh, it's Miss Harris Goes to Paris. No. It's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness comes out on May 6th. So May 7th would be the Saturday after the Doctor Strange movie drops. By the way, the next movie to come out connected to comics on May 20th, the DC League of Super Pets. You don't sound all that excited.
I don't know. Maybe.
I really don't have a lot of geeking because all my geeking was taken up earlier in the show. I really enjoyed the AEW Full Gear. If you're a wrestling fan and you missed it, it's still available on Fight TV. There's going to be a DVD coming out soon. And by the time this drops, you will be 2 days away from Pro Wrestling Tees big Black Friday sale. They will have, it's their biggest sale of the year. Some shirts are 50% off, some are 20% off, and stuff in between. Like I think they have shoes that are basically Chuck Taylors with wrestlers' designs on them, are either 30 or 40% off. That's usually when I buy my wrestling T-shirts, which now that I've been working from home for almost 2 years is almost exclusively what I wear. Wrestling T-shirts, comic T-shirts, hood. I'm right now wearing my New Japan hoodie. My other hoodie that I love is my CM Punk Luck is for Losers hoodie. And also, finally, because this is dropping Thanksgiving week, I'm going to explain why Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, Joe.
Which is?
I wake up fairly early on Thanksgiving because I want to be there right when Minnesota's largest candy store opens. Thanksgiving weekend is their last weekend of the season. They then close down through the winter and reopen again in the spring. So I go there on Thanksgiving, do my one big round and load up on any sort of weird candy and sodas that I need. I'm pretty sure they don't have any Rat Bastard root beer, but if they do, I usually buy a case. And I buy a fresh pie because they still make the pies. They still have the light too, because back before it was the candy store and it was just, for selling apples and pies, they had a light that said, when the light is on, fresh pies are available. So I hit there. Then I come home and I have baking all day, baking and cooking and stuff while watching the Mystery Science Theater 3000 marathon. They have 8 MST3K movies in a row. And now, with Pluto TV and Shout TV and all that, they've got Mystery Science Theater channels. But on those channels, they have new host segments. And during the new host segments this year, they will let us know all 13 movies that will be in the next season of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Then later that night, I go to the gym because I'm a member of one of those 365 gyms, open 365, 24/7. You have it's the one of the few days I know I can go to the gym and there will be nobody there at all. Because who wants to eat a huge Thanksgiving dinner and go to the gym? Well, I don't eat a huge Thanksgiving dinner. I don't eat turkey. So, hey, perfect night to go to the gym. Then the next day is Black Friday. And I do understand the people who do the don't buy anything. But Joe, Butch, and this year, the boy, and I load up in Joe's cop car and hit every comic shop we can fit in because, hey, they're local businesses. They need the help, and most of them have huge sales.
And as Nerding Out opens at 10 a.m., we got to get moving, 10 a.m.
That's right. I will be over there. I will. Now, usually we don't eat breakfast, but since the boy is coming up, I say we get together a little early, eat breakfast at IHOP or someplace, then go to Nerding Out, and then hit all the other shops.
I'm all for that.
Okay. And then Saturday, I don't work. So you know what I'm going to do? Read all them comics I've been buying.
I may be working Saturday. I'm off. Originally, I had the entire week off, but what happened is one of my friends. Well, first of all, when they shifted my days off around, I decided, you know what, I might as well just cancel my vacation, save it for Hawaii. But I have a friend, her family celebrates on that Saturday, and she can't get it off because other people like me have it off. And I told her, well, if worse comes to worse, I'll cancel my leave and come in and work so she can have Thanksgiving. That's the type of guy I am. I'm a nice guy. I would never.
There are also probably going to be a lot of bonuses for working a holiday weekend, right?
If I do my overtime, I get 8 hours. I get a 4 time off award. If I do 16 hours, yeah, they got all sorts of goodies coming. I would never. I'm a nice guy. I would never say things like at the premiere, not at the public trailer. There was a scene of the lizard on the Spider-Man trailer getting punched by an invisible, air quotes, thing. Oh, I would never say that. I'd let it be a surprise. Oh man, when's that movie come out?
Mid-December.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't think I'll get there opening day, but I got 3 days to hit maybe a matinee. You know that if I had to give one minor freaking, I've been trying to go see a matinee of Eternals, but there are no matinees right now.
Yeah.
They're not running an 11 o'clock movie, which sucks because I don't mind going at night, but I'd rather just go during the day. So.
Oh, holy crap. WWE just released a bunch of new wrestlers today.
Released as in bye-bye?
Yeah, they're gone.
Good grief.
Let's see. Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, John Morrison, Jackson Riker, Slapjack, all three members of Hit Row. I am shocked.
Boy, John Morrison's the only guy I know. I'm so really out of WWE.
I'm shocked that John Morrison was let go. And Drake Maverick was a guy they let go. And the fan outrage at them letting him go was so overwhelming, they actually hired him back. Now they've let him go again.
Do you think some of that AEW is going, oh, please stop. I can't handle this anymore?
No, I think what it is, they've got a new CEO. I don't know if he's the CEO. Vince is the president. This guy's the CEO. And Hollywood agent. He's the Hollywood agent who negotiated their last TV deal. And to me, it seems like he has come in. First off, anybody who seems to be connected with Triple H is slowly being let go. And Triple H used to run NXT, but then he had that heart attack right before they did a revamp of NXT, and now NXT's utterly unwatchable, and the ratings have dropped like almost 50% since they did the rebranding of NXT. Because you watch it, NXT used to be, okay, this is good wrestling, and the stories kind of make sense. Well, Vince McMahon couldn't have that. So now it's like Raw and SmackDown, where the matches are 3 to 4 minutes and the stories are goofy and it's full of bad comedy. And I'm now not watching any WWE TV except for NXT UK and the pay-per-views. I never thought I'd ever say that.
I didn't follow. I mean, I had the WWE Network, but when they went to Peacock, I did not sign up for the free Peacock, mainly because I got so much other stuff. I pretty soon, Cory, we'll never leave the house. We get everything delivered to us, maybe twice a year, once for Black Friday and once for free comic book day. And well, then if Steph comes back to town, we'll take her out to dinner too. But other than that, we'll just watch everything, pot everything, read everything, have it delivered to us.
But man, there have been rumors forever that they're cutting costs. Because it's not just wrestlers getting released. It's office people, to where now office people are complaining publicly, anonymously, but are complaining publicly about how there aren't enough people to get the job done. Everything for TV is done very last minute. Half the time when the show starts, we don't have the information we need for the second and third hours of shows. They're being done on the fly. Like Raw will start and they don't know how they're going to end the show. They don't know what matches, so they don't know how to set up cameras. They don't know what wrestlers to get ready when they start the show. It's being rewritten. And a lot of people are saying, they will go into the weekend with scripts. And then the day of the show, Vince McMahon will say, I don't like it anymore, rip it up, and have them completely redo the show. And a lot of the reasons you see the same matches over and over and over is because they're doing it last minute. Vince doesn't remember that those guys wrestled a week ago or 2 weeks ago. But I really think that they're cutting costs in order to sell it. And if they're not selling it to NBC, Universal, Comcast, Xfinity, whatever, I would be shocked.
Yeah,
because Vince is in his late 70s.
Yeah, and if the heir apparent, Steph and Triple H can't come up with a deal to buy it from him the way, Vince bought it from. Of course, when Vince bought it from his dad, it was nowhere near the mega powerhouse it is now.
And he had to borrow all the money to buy it.
Yeah. So, I mean, unless I don't know, maybe Triple H could get a hold of Vince and Eric and a few other guys got some money and maybe put together a deal.
I was thinking it would be really interesting if Eric Bischoff put together a deal to buy it. But I think they're going to sell it off to Xfinity because Xfinity, brought it in to, USA, and then they've brought it in to Peacock. There's nothing left to sell but the company itself. Anyway, you've listened to us blather on about wrestling and a few comic books for an hour and a half.
And yeah, you had to listen to me eat a pumpkin spice salted nut roll.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
If your nose is blocked, but you let some bacon and eggs fry on a rock when it's hot outside, can you smell then what the rock is cooking? What the other one was going to be. My waiter asked me if I wanted a box for my leftovers. I said no, but I'll wrestle you for them.
Good night, everybody.
What do you call literature about wrestling? Body slam poetry.
Hit my music.